Om Vakaratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namah Shivaya. Sarvamangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Shri Guru Stotram Akhanda Mangalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Guru Stotram. Welcome to Daily Satsang. We're continuing our contemplation on a variety of topics, and along those is the whole question about the Atma and the Brahman. Again, as I stated before many times, that these words are used quite often in the Hindu religion, Sanatana Dharma. But what it actually refers to, what is the actual essence of it, and the realization is what we're interested in. So along those lines, we have been looking at the Vivek Chudamani, as well as the Pratyabhigna Hridayam, the Bhagavad Gita, Vachanamrut, and related scriptures, to look at this question of what is the Atma, what is the extraordinary state of realization. So yesterday we were considering and looking at the word Mahapurusha. That is what Adi Shankaracharya ji has used in Vivek Chudamani, as you can see on the screen here, that he has shown that gradation where mumukshutvam is a great quality. It is very rare. So if something like this is developing within us, we have a desire to be liberated, it has been awakened somehow, then that is a very special gift of God. That happens by the grace of God. You may ask, why doesn't it happen for everyone? Because there's a preparation. It happens in its own way, in its own time. It is a journey of each soul to realize that, depending on the sanskaras, depending on the way mind, body, thought, emotion, everything is used in any given life. To that extent, this evolution begins to occur. This is Brahma Vidya. What we are looking at is Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya means that knowledge about the Brahman, that knowledge, that realization. Knowledge is not information or just words and language. It is the actual Jnana. Jnana is an internal revelation, internal vision. That is Jnana. And as I stated before, the Dharma, Jnana, and Vairagya, these are foundational for Bhakti, as written in Vachanamrutam. So that we have covered to some extent before already. Now, we can see here in the next verse in Vivek Chudamani number 4, there is a pretty strong statement made here by Adi Shankaracharya. So this is what he says. I'll translate it and we'll go into the various words. Is there a man who, having somehow obtained this rare human birth, together with the masculine temperament, meaning high energy, and also a complete knowledge of the scriptures, is foolish enough not to strive hard for self-realization? Verily one commits suicide clinging to things unreal. Now obviously the Atma is not something that can be killed, but when he's using the word suicide here, that is referring to the fact that he is, that particular individual is destroying that opportunity for realization by going into the cycles of birth and death. So he's saying very clearly that if we have human body, we have high energy, we have good understanding of what the scriptures, what the gurus have taught, even with all of that, why not strive for realization? Why not put efforts behind that? So if you don't put any effort, nothing will be accomplished in life. Even though it is true that sadhana doesn't take you to realization, sadhana takes you to the brink of realization. Realization is not the result of sadhana. That's not the case. Realization takes you to the edge point, where just the border point, and then by the grace of God, the realization of the Atma occurs. It is necessary to strive. It is necessary to put effort into this whole path. If we don't put any effort at all, we will just wind up in tamogun. We'll wind up in tamasic state of mind. Rajasic even requires effort. Rajoguni, passion. There's effort, a lot of effort to fulfill desires. But in tamogun, there is no effort. There is just nothingness. There is just dullness. So that is not the point here. The point is that if such a foundation is developed, as we mentioned before, if the foundation is developing, is developed, then go 100% into realization. Put all energy into that. And if we don't do that, then we keep wasting energy in ephemeral things. Then it is really, as Adi Shankaracharya ji is saying here, that it is a type of self-destruction. So swam vinihanti, that is the Sanskrit there, and asadgrahat means clinging to things unreal. You see, so things that are real, what is real actually? The real is the Atma. Everything else that we see, as per Advaita Vedanta, is a reflection of the Atma. In the Shaiva Tantra, it is not considered so much as a reflection, it is considered to be as a contraction of the higher energy into different gross forms. You can look at it either way, not that one is right, one is wrong. There's just different perspectives depending on the sage's illumination. So, what is the implication in our lives today, as of today, regarding this verse number 4 and the Atma? Why should one strive? Why should one place effort? Well, we must understand what is meant by effort. When we try to place effort, that means we are using energy in our mind, body complex, etc., to attempt to unravel the truth. That effort itself is necessary. That effort itself changes a lot of the inherent power within us in a different direction. Otherwise, efforts are going to be placed in the sansar, which we have to do, no doubt. But that cannot be the end point. That cannot be the end all and be all. So, for example, things like meditation, the different yogas, these are all efforts. Doing mantra sadhana is an effort. Any kind of sadhana is an effort. And it is good to do. The different scriptures that are read, different mantras that are read, the different mandirs that are built, all of those puja, archana, everything that is done is a type of sadhana. Now the question might become, what is the most difficult sadhana? This is in Vachanamrut. The Vachanamrut begins actually like this, by a question by Maharaj. He says, what is the most difficult sadhana of all? And the answer is that to keep the mind continuously absorbed in God is the most difficult sadhana. Bhagwan na swarupma manni akhanda vritti rakvi. Tethi koi sadhan kathan nathi. Vachanamrut number 1. Garuda 1. Meaning what? That the akhanda vritti is like how if you have two containers, one is filled with oil, the other one is empty, and you're pouring from one container to the other, and that stream of oil, however, it is unbroken from one to the other. That unbroken stream is called tel dhara. That's what it's called in Gujarati. I don't know about other languages, but it's called tel dhara vritti. So tel dhara vritti means what? That the mind is continuously connected in some way or another towards spiritual contemplation, towards God actually, towards Paramatma. And that is the ultimate sadhana. So the sadhana is that, and the prapti is that also. Prapti meaning what? The attainment. What is the goal of akhanda vritti? It is realization of the truth, the ultimate truth. It is realization of Bhagavan. So the sadhana and the sadhan, meaning what? The sadhana and the prapti are interesting. The sadhana is what? To keep our thoughts, our emotions, our indriyas in some connection with the Paramatma. Even to get to that stage is not a simple thing. That requires a good amount of satsang, manan chintan, contemplation. So many things are required to set the foundation where we then internally really believe and feel that I want to keep my mind on God. But that's a big thing actually. That's not a small thing. When any human being comes to even for a few moments, that thought comes that I want to keep my thoughts, my mind on Bhagavan. Wow. That is amazing. Even if that happens, even for 1 second, even if that thought flashes inside, that is the beginning of the whole realization. Even a microsecond flash of that sense that I want to keep myself within God. Wow, that is fantastic. There's nothing so awesome. So that flash grows, that feeling grows, that desire grows to remain in that again and again, again and again. Then why? Because there is Amrut being experienced. As I mentioned many times, you begin to experience divine joy, Divya Ananda. There is Vishaya Ananda and there is Brahmananda. There's Divyananda, Akhandananda, Paramananda, Premananda, Sahajananda. See, these are all Ananda, meaning Ananda has all these kinds of descriptions. And Vishaya Ananda, as intense, as powerful as it could be, as we have, as human beings, tried to expand its purview, it is always limited. And from Shankaracharya's point of view, it is the unreal, and those who are clinging to the unreal. Asad grahat. Asad grahat. Asad grahat means what? Asat means that which is unreal. Grahat means you're holding on. Holding on to things that are unreal. You see, so from his point of view, the entire world of names and forms is unreal. And that is a relative statement. It is unreal relative to the Brahman, that which is real. Like so many examples which we already are familiar with. If you have a pot made out of clay, the classic example, it is only clay taking a different form. In the same way, from the Brahmic viewpoint, from the point of view of the Akshara Brahma, the imperishable Brahman, everything is Brahman. All the Prakriti is nothing but the Brahman in a different form. It has taken all these different forms. It's like water that takes on different icebergs. It takes different icicles and icebergs, and it becomes steam, and it is in water for liquid form. It's all only the one substance, H2O. It's not two different things. So what is unreal? The way this is differentiated, the names and forms that are in our purview, those names and forms are unreal in the sense that what we are seeing is not the actual reality. We're seeing a superimposition. Superimposition is one of the big ideas within Advaita Vedanta. All right, and I will mention that in terms of the teachings of Vachanamrut also. So superimposition means what? If I see, let's see, like I have, for example, in my hand, this seltzer, lime flavored, calorie free. I have it's a carbonated water drink, 0 calorie, right? But when I hold this in my hand, do I keep in my mind that I'm holding a tin can? I don't even think of this as a tin can. Even though I kind of know that it's a tin can, my thought is about the water inside, the carbonated water. So what do I call it? I call it a polar seltzer. Okay, give me a seltzer. Will I say, give me a tin can? But what is this actually? It is a tin can. But I don't think ever in my life I have ever called this a tin can. The tin is the actual reality. The printing on here, the color and everything else that's on this can is what? It is actually the superimposition. Similarly, the tin, the steel or the tin or whatever this is made out of, it is the actual substance. It can take any substance. It can be a square shape, it can be some other shape. Just like that, every experience through the senses, the forms that we see through our eyes, the sounds that we hear through our ears, the touch sense, the taste sense, every kind of sense experience is a superimposition on the actual reality of the Brahman. That superimposition is the Mahamaya, is the Maya that is giving us the experience of the world. So when Adi Shankaracharya ji in this 4th verse is using the word asadgrahat, very, very relevant. He says, don't cling on to these unreal things. These things are coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. We know that they're coming and going. But even their actual existence is not what you think it is. It is something else. See, we think of this world in terms of names and forms only, with all the language that we have created around it. Okay, relatively, that is necessary. In the relative world, there is that reality. And that's true also with all the countries of the world. We say, well, where are we right now? Well, I'm in Newark, Delaware. I'm in Delaware. This is in my mind all the time. I'm in United States. But that is a false thing. That's not the reality. There's nothing really like United States or India or Canada or Mexico or any of these things. This is all a fabricated phenomena created by the human mind that we accept as real. So when we say asat, what is asat? Almost everything that humanity is playing around with is unreal. It has been created. It has been fabricated. It is something that exists temporarily, something that is an evolute of the mind. So what is Sat? That is what is the Atma? That is what we're trying to discover. Imagine for a moment you're driving your car and you're going to cross 4 states, from Delaware to, let's say, I'm going to come to Texas, let's say. So I go from state to state to state, maybe 4, 5, or 6 states, or maybe pass through, something like that. Okay. But so, when we cross the border of the state, welcome to Delaware, welcome to Maryland, welcome to this, and then different laws are there and different regulations, and license plates change. You can see so many things, right? All of that is a superimposition. All of that is human created. There's nothing like Delaware or New Jersey or United States or north or south there's nothing like that actually. Actually, there's only the existence, isness. If we are able to look at even a tree without the concept of a tree and all the memories of a tree and all the images of a tree, if we can see the tree, even just looking at the tree through our eyes, without all of those images inside our head and our beliefs about the names and forms, and without the name and the form, we will see God directly. You know that incident in the Bible that God spoke through the burning bush to Moses. You see? So, however that may be interpreted, one way to think of that from a Vedantic point of view is that Moses was able to see somehow through his sadhana, through the grace of God, that which is beyond the tree, the Paramatma that exists everywhere. But it's the effulgent reality. Something different shows up there other than what you think is actually there. I don't know if you've ever been in nature, walking around, or sometimes even driving around. You look at something and you just get the oddest feeling, like you've never looked at it before. You've looked at trees before, mountains before, or people, but there's something different that seems to be there, apart from what is just in our purview. It doesn't last very long. Sometimes you get a flash of this, just a very odd feeling, like, what is that actually? It's almost like you get a glimpse of what it really is. You see? But that's very rare because our mind is so heavily conditioned by names and forms. We're not able to get out of it. In one of the teachings of J. Krishnamurti, I have a video here at my place about seeing the world without the structure of language. We look at the world through our language only, through our perceptions of what the words are, what they mean, what they are to us, and we continuously have this circuitry in the mind and the brain that connects the object with the language, object and language and name and form. We're constantly in that. So once we evolve out of that, it is an evolution. It is not a rejection of it. It is an evolution out of it. It is an internal evolution. And that is exactly what this verse number 4 is referring to actually evolve carefully, step by step, slowly, out of the vortex of names and forms. And this is what Shankaracharya ji has stated. You've got a human body, you have mumukshutva, you have scriptures, you have all this opportunity there, that once we start studying the scriptures and learning the great lives of the great saints, we begin to evolve. It is a day-to-day evolution. Whenever we are reading, studying, walking, contemplating, listening to scriptures, it's whatever we're listening to, teachings of any of the gurus who are present today. There are so many, I don't want to name them right now. There are thousands of them. Many are well known. But once we start listening to somebody, again, is it filtering inside where we can realize what the words are referring to? Just like when Shankaracharya ji is saying here that do not commit suicide, meaning what? Do not destroy yourself by not going into the scriptures. Meaning, go into the scriptures and you will save yourself. Go into sadhana, go and put effort in 100%. Go at the feet of the great sages, all of that. And stop clinging to things unreal. And that's a difficult pill to swallow. It's a tough pill to swallow. Because the only thing we know as human beings are things that are in the names and forms, and the constant strife that occurs because of it. The constant running after these things. Without any end, it just goes on. If you look at most of the movies that are made in the world, what is it? What do you see? What are the themes? Either there's some kind of a love story and there's a pulling back and forth, or there's grabbing after money. Somebody wants some position, somebody wants something from someone, they want to gain material power. All those kinds of things are there. The mumukshu realizes that running after the material world to find eternal happiness is completely, utterly, and totally the biggest mistake anybody can make. So, to realize that the material world exists as an opportunity to go beyond. Why is this world created? We're interested in improving the world. We can try to improve the world. The world may improve, and we do need to do our seva towards the world. Everybody's a seva. It doesn't matter if they know it or not. Whether it's the president or whether it's the trash collector, everybody's doing seva. They may be getting paid for it, but they're a servant of somebody. He says everybody is interconnected, everybody's serving each other in some form or other. That's the way it goes, and we have to do our duty. That's why in the Gita, Sri Krishna is saying, do your duty. So we have to perform our duty in the material world to support its existence and its continuation. But nonetheless, for Brahma Vidya, while doing one's duty as a Nishkam Karma Yogi, while doing one's duty in this way, we are able to also realize that the purpose of the material world meaning all the material world that is in our purview, the infinite universes, the Brahmanda itself, this earth that we're on, all of that exists for only one purpose. There's multiple purposes, but the ultimate purpose is only one, to transcend it and discover the Brahman. That's why, for example, if someone goes to Harvard University, topmost university, let's say Harvard, Princeton, the Ivy Leaguers, why you're going to that university? So you can graduate with a diploma, so you can get out of there. You're not going to Harvard University or Princeton or Yale so you can stay there for your whole life. You go there for 4 years, maybe 6 years, get a master's degree, maybe a doctorate, 4 more years, and then you're done. You're looking for that diploma. You're not looking to stay there forever. It's in the same way, we want the diploma from Mahamaya that says you're ready to get out of Mahamaya. That's the real, when we see Goddess Saraswati holding those books, right? That's the whole point of that. She's saying you learn this Brahma Vidya. You learn all this thing, get into this very clearly so that you can graduate from Mahamaya. I don't think I've ever said that before. Something new popped into my mind right now about that. So there's something interesting shows up, when we start thinking about these things. But that's what it is. You draw these analogies. The whole purpose of the Brahmanda is so that we can go out of it and realize the Brahman. The Brahmanda is just an artificially created thing by the goddess so that the Jivatma can gain experience of the Prakriti, and those experiences are used to transcend Prakriti. They're not to be trapped in, but that's what happens. Even people getting trapped inside Prakriti is an experience. Isn't it so? Don't we say, oh God, I'm having such a hard time with my anger. People say that all the time. Well, if you're having a hard time with your anger, first of all, there has to be anger. Then you recognize there's a hard time. You recognize the nature of the bondage and the experience. That's a great teacher. That is the Guru Tattva active even in anger. That the anger is teaching you something, that this experience is coming from within you. What is the nature of that experience? Why it's happening? And then having the wisdom to let that experience go. Letting that experience go of anger, krodh, lobh, that letting that go is the unclinging of the fist. Hanging on to things unreal, as Adi Shankaracharya ji is saying, asadgrahat. Why hang on to these things? So when we realize from inside, it is an internal realization, not an externally imposed set of regulations and rules. Those things are there in religious organizations, other places also. That is okay. That may be a beginning, and it is a beginning. But that certainly isn't the end. It has to come from inside, because that's the only place freedom is going to come from. Freedom is not going to come from some outside thing. Freedom is not somebody giving a certificate to Sachin Karnik, now you're free. No. It is an internal opening. And when one is free from inside, there is nothing but joy, Ananda. Divine, because the Brahman is Ananda, Satchidananda. Bhagavan Sri Krishna is described as Satchidananda. Bhagavan Swaminarayan used to say just Jai Satchidananda all the time. Look, whole Vachanamrita is filled with this. Satchidananda is a common way to describe the Brahman, to describe God, to describe the Atma. How beautiful. So the experiences of Prakriti are there through the human body with the scriptural understanding, through Satsanga, as very clearly written by Adi Shankaracharya, verse 4. It is there so that we can directly, completely utilize every experience of Prakriti as a great teacher. This is exactly what Shaiva Tantra is all about. If you go through this extraordinary text, Pratyabhigna Hridayam, and I've been going through this, I can tell you, I can bow down to, if I do 1,000 Danvat Pranam to this text is not enough. This is a most extraordinary book. It is called Pratyabhigna Hridayam. Very profound. Each and every word, each and every line is talking about this expansion and contraction which is happening at the cosmic levels and within our lives also. About Shiv and Shakti, the Mool Purush and Mool Prakriti. That is what it is talking about. And it is describing it in the most extraordinary manner. What is the implication for us? That our day-to-day experience is real, but it is unreal in terms of the Brahman. See, when holding on to things unreal, it's unreal in a relative sense, but it has reality. Even Shankaracharya ji writing such a Vivek Chudamani, he's writing it within the realm of the physical world. Who is he writing it to? If the world is completely unreal, how can you write about it to anybody? You see, so it doesn't mean that the world is completely unreal. The world is real, but it is temporary, ephemeral. It is going to go away, and it is not the absolute reality. It is relative reality. So if I say that I'm holding a seltzer in my hand, that's a relative reality. The actual reality is I'm holding a tin can in my hand with carbonated water. You can call it anything you want. You can call it seltzer. You can call it some other name. You can call it whatever you want. There's 100 different types of these carbonated water drinks. Everyone has a different name for it, but the substance is the same. Isn't it so? Similarly, yes, the differentiation is there. Yes, is it true that we are living in a relative world? Yes, we can live in a relative world, but as J. Krishnamurti would beautifully say, an intelligent mind acts in the field of thought without resistance. And so it has energy, so its intelligence grows. The internal resistance is our indicator. In the Vachanamrut language, the same idea is described in many different ways. So for example, Maharaj stated in Vachanamrut, when he talked about this internal resistance, he talks about it as Chitta Vritti Vibhrant. That the internal Chitta Vritti, internal mental mechanism, the flow of thoughts and emotions and memories and all, it has become dispersed because of the doshas. Garada Ante number 2 Vachanamrut. This internal dispersion, fragmentation, and a type of dissipation of energy is discussed very beautifully in Garada number 2 Vachanamrita. Someday in the future I don't know when, but at some point we'll get into some of that in more depth. What is meant by fragmentation, as J. Krishnamurti talked about that a lot also. And we can see it in our life. Whatever they have said in these scriptures is one thing. We can see in our life here. We can see continuously human beings divide. If you just look at like any Indian community, like what they say caste, any one of them, you will see there are hundreds of branches within any one caste. any one community of people. And within them, there are so many divisions and divisions and divisions and divisions. And then people get together, they try to find some unity, they try to find commonality. But when they're with their own people, they become divisive right away. I've heard it for so many. I said, all these people talking like this, they're nowhere near the Hindu culture, actual culture. What they're doing is completely opposite of what is in the scriptures. Completely, 100% opposite, in fact. The divisions are endless. South versus north, this versus that. It just goes on. It just goes on. Even in a state like Maharashtra or Gujarat or anything, there's so many castes and subcastes and this group of people and that. It's just within the Hindu community, what we call Hindu community. And so what chance is there of anybody being liberated? One has to go completely. But the interesting thing is all these people who are making those divisive statements, they also know about this oneness and about God being everywhere, and they can quote scriptures, and some of them have degrees in high level from high level universities. Still, they cannot overcome their internal bondages. And we're not trying to find fault with anybody. It's an observation. That's all. And the divisions continue. They continue again. This is why people like Vivekananda Swami were so popular throughout the world. Why his message resonated with the millions? Because it was a message of universality. It was a message of non-divisiveness. It was a message that we are one people. It was a message that we should not cling onto things unreal, which are including all of the divisiveness of the world. Yes, there may be diversity, and there is diversity. Can that diversity hang beautifully together on the foundation of oneness and unity? This is the core of Sanatana Dharma. And if we forget that, who identify with that Sanatana Dharma, or who are resonating with these ideas, even if Sachin is speaking, if Sachin forgets this even for a second, everything that I'm talking right now goes completely down. It's just wasted. It's no meaning at all. The actual truth has to resonate. What is the point of having a light bulb that shines no light? Everything is available. It's a 500 watt bulb is there. It's plugged in. Everything is there, but the switch is not on. The electricity is also there. Everything is, the switch is not on. We have to turn the switch on. That's what he's talking about in the Vivek Chudamani. He's saying, the scriptures, you have the human body, you may have a lot of energy, you have so many things. Turn the switch on. Do it once and for all, and don't turn it off again. Okay, so with that, we'll continue forward tomorrow.